One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. Hopefully everybody's well and can hear me. Shout out to you guys being here this morning. Spotlight myself. What's going on? What's going on? Everybody should be able to hear and see me nice and clearly. So make sure that we are all good to go, hearing wise. One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. Everybody should be good there. Shout out to everybody for being on. Thank you guys for coming in. And we'll go ahead and get this party started. So super appreciative of everybody once again. Uh, we are here right now. It is Thursday. So Thursday, October 2nd. So let's go ahead and get this party kicked off. A few things to go over. Make sure we are recording. Yep, we're good there. That's taking place. All right, we should be good to go now. So um the reason really for had some good conversations with a lot of people yesterday and throughout the entire week. So I definitely want to give people their flowers. For just being in attendance on a consistent basis, showing up, executing at a high level. It was really good to, just have some conversations and just to sit back and be able to kind of just reflect. And that's the biggest thing, having a moment of just really reflection. And what I can say the most is you're going to get out of this what you put into it. That's what I want to start us off here before we get into any ticker conversations, before we get into any strategy and all of that good stuff. We got 100+ people here live early in the flesh. You get what you put out. And so what I mean by that essentially is the people that's putting in the most work are going to get the most out of this. So there's a common denominator between the people that are here right now that can show up at 7:30 because you want it. Like you want something out of this, you got to go get it. A lot of people are waiting on trades to fall in their lap. A lot of people are waiting for people to tell them what to do every second of the day. That's not a recipe for success here. What's a recipe for success is people who are going to step to the plate and be willing to swing. No hesitation, no indecision. No, I'm kind of halfway in or I'm kind of halfway out. It's either all in or all out. And that's what I really want to stress to people here this morning. And for the most part, majority of people that are here are people that have bought in, that have went said, you know what, I'm taking the opportunity to go all in at this time. And they're not half stepping. They are not half stepping at all. They decided that, hey, I'm going to take this time and I'm going to go all in. So I want to give you guys your flowers. Shout out to Leo for being here this morning. Right? Shout out to Leo. Leo, no excuses. No excuses. Shout out to Charlie, Clayton Brown. I want to give a shout out to Clayton Brown. He just joined us a few weeks ago. He's been in here nonstop. I see your name on the recordings as well, bro. So just know I can see who's watching. Miss Birch, Miss Jennifer Birch. A lot of you guys may be familiar with Miss Jen Birch. I want to give her flowers for being here this morning. No excuses. All the West Coast people, I want to give you guys your flowers because West Coast people, it's 4:30 a.m. It's not 7:30 a.m. It's 4:30. So for all the West Coast people that's in the building, we got quite a few of them. They're here representing and showing up. So I got to give you guys your flowers here for showing up here early. All of my West Coast people, Chef Day Day, Chef Day Day's in the building. So I want to give Chef Day Day a big, big shout out. Good brother, really, really good brother. Been here for about 4.5 years, going on 5. And Chef Day Day's an executor. Chef Day Day tell it. He's been here for a while. He's put in the work. So I want to give Chef Day Day his main, I just want to, as a main person that's been here on a consistent basis, want to give him his flowers. Remar and Cleve, Tiffany, star pupils right there. Want to give you guys your flowers, right? Nonstop action. When she comes in the chat, listen, she got student of the month for a reason. She didn't hesitate. I want to give Tiffany her flowers. Just continue to be who you are and showing up in the chat because that's what kind of is inspiring. Her name came up 3 times yesterday when I spoke to people. Her name came up 3 separate occasions as saying, yo, Tiffany, she's in the chat. She's motivating me. Just seeing her put in the work is motivating. So be inspired, be inspired by other people. Don't look at what somebody else is doing and say, hey, how fast is it going to take? How fast can I get there? How fast? That's a lot of times what I think people have is like, it's like a rush factor. It's like, okay, let me hurry up and do this. And I think that's where people make a lot of mistakes, is trying to be in such a rush to get somewhere, right? It's like there's no need to speed. Just take your time, allow yourself to learn the information, allow yourself to take gradual steps day by day. Don't try to sprint to the finish line. Like at the end of the day, this is a marathon. If you're sprinting during, you're gonna fall out. You're not gonna have enough gas to finish. So just build a steady pace. That's the biggest thing that I'm trying to encourage people to do, is just building a steady pace. A lot of times people are rushing, and that's what's causing certain mistakes, is like just some certain people are just rushing and seeing things halfway full. So what do I mean by that? If you're taking a trade, you should always have what? What are some of my core rules if you're ever getting into a trade? You should have a target that's set. A lot of people are getting into trades and they're not setting targets, and they don't have their alerts set, and it's showing. Do not get into a trade and you don't have an alert set and you don't have targets, because when stocks are hitting these targets, a lot of times people are missing them. You got to be able to make sure that you're setting these alerts, guys. I cannot stress this enough. Please do not take a trade and do not follow the game plan. Some people are hearing, well, we going out 3 to 6 months, but then they're going out 2 weeks. Please, let's not start that, because I don't want anybody to build a habit of that, right? Of understanding like, hey, if that's what I said, if you can't do it, just don't do it. Like, I think that's the easiest way that I could really stress that, just to make sure that people understand the seriousness of this conversation. So a lot of good stuff that we're going to go over. Make sure you drop some fires in the chat for yourself for showing up. I told you guys I was going to drop 40. I just dropped 5 right there. So I got 35 more to go. So I want everyone to pull up the CNN Fear to Greed Index. And the Fear to Greed Index is actually at neutral. This is something I want to point out to you guys here. I want you to pull out the CNN Fear and Greed Index. I want you guys to do that for me real quick. I just dropped that link in the chat. If you didn't already have it, you now have it. It's in there. And one more thing before I actually get started. All Zoom codes are located in the Mentee Convo floor. So let me make that one clear. Anytime there's a Zoom code, it'll be right here with an @ symbol to let you know. It'll tell you the time, boom, 7:30. What's the topic? Boom, you click that. Anytime you're usually going to come here, information and resources. You got the weekly watch list, the Zoom recordings right here. So boom, like all of the Zoom recordings, you got 10-1, 9:29, 9:30, right? So all of that is there. We have technical analysis channel. So if you know you need work on technicals, you need to come here. We got a plethora of videos there for you. Non-stop information here. We got the beginner A to Z videos right here for you. We're going to be uploading some more here over this next month. So there's going to be a lot more here in the month of October to get you set up there, right? The schedule is right here, right? So we understand that next week, 7 to 10 p.m., the link for the tickets just dropped today. Obviously, if you're inside here, you don't need no tickets, but understand that this 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. is for mentees only. That's for only premium people. I'm going to give you guys an action-packed 3-hour masterclass. You save that. I'm giving you tickers that have the opportunity to go up 500 to 1,000% in the next 2 years, and giving you 2026 and 2027 market expectations and some things that I'm going to show you how to do. No fluff, no games, straight value. 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., 5-hour full day of training. And then you guys know when we come back, we had a mentee link up October 19th to the 22nd. So just add some notes there. So that's how you maximize your experience here. Please be accountable for coming in, because listen, once again, the Zoom recordings are here. So the information is right in front of you. It's up for you to really take it in and on your own time. Everyone's got schedules. Some people work evenings, some people work early morning, some people work during the day, regular 9 to 5. Some people are in different time zones. But I'm going to give the West Coast people their flowers. West Coast people don't miss these things, man. West Coast people get motivated, and it's a little tougher over there. I'll be honest, a little tougher on the West Coast, but he's still getting after it. So I got to give them their flowers and their utmost respect. I also got to give our international people a second. I got to give the UK people. There's UK people that's here nonstop that's showing up for classes. Miss Wendy, shout out to Miss Wendy. She's always on classes, whether she's catching it live or catching the recordings. She's coming in and she's watching these classes. So we have a plethora of people in Canada as well too. Shout out to all of our Canadian members. Majority of those are on the same time on the same time zone here on the East Coast for the most part. Not all, but for the most part. But you guys show up as well too. You guys navigate the difficulties of getting your platform set up, figuring out ways to actually get your money loaded into a brokerage account and making these moves. So I want to give you your flowers as well too for being here this morning. Now let's get to business, right? So you got the fear and the greed index right here at about neutral. So this is the awkward part, right? And I say that word awkward because I want to really break this down. So even though the stock market is at an all-time high, certain things, once again, certain moves are justified when it comes to these names being at all-time highs. Now, when we go ahead and we take a look at names like NVIDIA, right? First name, right? Our big dog now. Apple's the old dog, NVIDIA is the big dog, right? So NVIDIA runs this market now. And so the market goes as NVIDIA goes. So if NVIDIA goes up, what are you going to see overall happen to the market? Based upon asset allocation, which we cover. Shout out to the XLC, right? But we're going to take a look here at the QQQ. Become accustomed to knowing what stocks belong where. That's one of the first steps that you should know. This is one of the first mistakes that I made, was not paying attention to the indices as much as I should in the beginning. This is why I say it is so important to know asset allocation. Asset allocation is very important. And so because NVIDIA has been dominant and they've dominated this market, NVIDIA runs this market. Anybody can say anything else, but these are the numbers and these are the facts. NVIDIA runs this market and the semiconductors run the NASDAQ. Let me explain as to why. You now have two tickers that sit in the semiconductor industry that sit top the NASDAQ. So you got Broadcom, which has eclipsed Amazon. Who would have thought that 3 years ago, that Broadcom would surpass Amazon as far as asset allocation? Now, the longer that Broadcom continues to be successful, what happens? The more that if Apple doesn't really perform to the degree that Broadcom does, Broadcom will replace Apple here. Now, as far as asset allocation percentage, now Apple's dropped from 12% to 8%. This is all within the past 18 months. NVIDIA has came up from 3 to 4%. This has all happened in the past 3 years, right? So NVIDIA has pretty much 3x'd and could very well 4x and get to 12% we'll say in a 3 to 4 year span as far as holding allocation in a QQQ. That's not something easy to do. Now, one ticker, which has made it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 9, 10, because we understand Google right here. If you pay attention, who's in the top 10 now in the NASDAQ ETF? Palantir Technologies. Just let this sink in for a second. Palantir was in the 60 to 70 percentile when we talked about Palantir 3 years, 3 years ago, right? Palantir was in the 60 to 70 percentile. They said at top 10. Asset allocation means a ton. So guess who Palantir coming for? They hunting Netflix and they're hunting Google. And right there, Meta Platforms, you might be saying, damn, how did this happen so fast? And you think about the distance of 1% between Palantir and Tesla. And you're like, man, this is crazy. But it just goes to show how much of this move has been happened in Palantir. So you look at a name like NVIDIA, this sits top the market. It runs the market, which is why when we spoke on NVIDIA being in a bull flag, you also have Apple being in a bull flag. You could see that plain as day. It was just a matter of time before it broke. Now, it only took 2 months to do it, right? So from July, the end of July to the end of September, obviously it took yesterday, right, as we broke up even further to come up here to this upside. So now NVIDIA is trying to make its way to 200, right? So it has a little bit of gas finally, right? The gas in the tank looks like it's not full, but it's got a little jolt, right? It just got jump started a little bit. Maybe it crashed, that came down a little bit, but it just jump started. So Nvidia is on the way to 200 based upon this bull flag break, right? We've had from June 23rd a long pole extension from one right here, 143, and now it's on the way to 200. So Nvidia, if I say Nvidia runs this market, it trumps all else, and no pun intended with that word, right? But it does, right? So Nvidia right here runs this damn market. Microsoft, let's talk about MSFT. So if you're looking at Microsoft, what was the level? This is how I know when people paying attention or not. Because I've only been talking about Microsoft breaking 517 for God knows how long. So now with Microsoft getting above this 517 and alerts going off, Microsoft can actually take a move up to 525. Either we were going to break down outside of this rising wedge and price was going to rally to the downside and pull back to 500, or it was going to be breaking 517, which we can see it doing here now, and getting maybe to start pushing towards 525 and maybe 532. So you got a little bit of strong momentum. Let's see if that can carry over. Now we're going to go to Apple. Now, if Apple's in this doggone bull flag, right? We just were covering Apple in the live trading session yesterday. What's happening here? This is the same setup, guys. This is why I say you got to look at the indice and you also have to look at the individual stocks. If I see that these two bad boys, NVIDIA and Apple, which make up roughly 18%, so that basically means that two doggone companies make up 1/5 of the NASDAQ's movement between two. But there's 102 in here, which it tells you that right here. Of the top 10, half of the move of the QQQ comes from 10 tickers. So if these 10 tickers come down, what you think's happening to the rest of this ETF? It's going to be pulling back. So if Amazon, Tesla, Meta, so now you even have Tesla. We'll get to them. We got a Tesla segment. We're not going to beat a horse with that, but let's see what these numbers come out as these delivery numbers come out. Let's see exactly how Tesla actually can move. Now it's up $8 so far right now. Let's see where once these delivery numbers come out, is it closer to breaking through 480 to 490? Now ticker Broadcom, which we successfully shorted 2 times. We didn't go. What did I say to you? I said, I don't want to go back to the well a third time. And I was right on toe with that one. I'm glad we didn't because I could see the buyers coming in, right? So when I went over this yesterday, you see these wicks. This is where I'm about to pay attention to the wicks because wicks are able to help you read price action, right? So buyers kept coming in here on the 30th. Buyers, 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 buyers. Buyers came yesterday. Also, as well, it showed you during that opening candle when we were on the live yesterday, we talked about this opening candle on Broadcom, right? Where it ranged down and it came all the way and pushed down here, right? And it came and hit that 325 and popped right out of that level, right? So it came right out of that level, popped right here. You look on a 5-minute or the 15-minute time frame, you'll see it here plain as day, right? So let's go. Right. So right here, right at that 930, it came, hit that level, rallied out of there. So now you look at AVGO and they got some gas, right? Here to the upside so far. Now, could this be a fake pop? It definitely could because AVGO would need to get above 343 in order to push to 354. They could reject. So there's a chance there that that could happen. So this is giving you some game, right? But let's take a look at a ticker that I discussed. Shout out to everyone who's been listening. Where is MU, guys? Micron Technologies. When you take a look here, where is MU? I've told people MU, if I had to stack up MU and AMD together, that it would be a hard point to argue why I would be taking AMD. And you guys know how much I like AMD. And by the way, we're going to cover them here in a second. AMD, shout out to RJ Trades, right? And we've been covering AMD as well. But shout out to RJ. We're going to give him his flowers. If you guys follow RJ, he showed you what that chart looked like. If you've been listening here, we showed you that 164 needed to crack over. And it just did it overnight. So we're going to cover it today. But if you look at MU, right? MU is on the way to 200. Look at this weekly breakout. And I told people, did I not? Did I not come on here and preach to get MU at $65, at $80 when it was breaking down? Did I not tell you that it would be hard-fetched to buy AMD over MU if you had to choose between the two? That MU had the genetic makeup, the DNA. Let's talk about MU. Let's go to their DNA. This is why they're making the moves they're making. When we said 2026 was about put up or shut up, in 2027 as well, too. Listen, MU's putting up. You got a forward P of 10, right? So pay attention to that. What does that mean? That means their earnings expected to jump. If the forward PE is lower than the trailing, that means that their earnings are expected to go higher. And so this is why MU, when you look at it, this is why this business is running the way it is. You got a quarterly earnings growth of 260%. You taking a look at a name that's flying. Now, they're not a low floater, but they got 1.1 billion shares. So MU has also been adding, stacking more cash. A couple years back, they only had about 5-6 billion. They got 10 billion. So this debt is serviceable. They can continue paying that debt, and they got it at a fair interest. So this is a good company. And honestly, with MU, sky's the limit with this thing, because you're looking at a company that has a market cap roughly right now of about $200 billion. But with the way they're earning, this market cap easily can go to 300 or 400 billion. So this stock could double in the next 4 years. Don't be surprised if you see MU double. And yes, I'm putting it out here. It could very well double. You see TSM doing their thing. They're on the way to 300. So this thing is running red hot. And so when you take the notes, you already understand that now we're in a position to be able to execute at a high level. So that's what it comes down to, these high probability setups and being patient and allowing things to actually move. So I think, once again, it is super duper important. Now the Morgan Stanley boys are getting active, right? So if you follow First Squawk, you will see Morgan Stanley boys just got active. Alphabet gets raised to 270 from 210. You also have Apple that just got raised from 240 to 298. So the Morgan Stanley guys just got active this morning, right? So we got that directly to your phone. If you follow First Squawk and you have the notifications, you should see that. So this is the path where we talk about MU, once again, going to 200. But let's just put it out here now. I kind of gave you guys maybe a little bit of a spoiler. So I'm going to stop with some of these things that I'm going to say next. But, tune in for Sunday. But I maybe gave a little bit of something, but not really too much, right? MU, I reiterate, 300 to 400 billion market cap. Next 2 to 3 years. You're going to see MU, because they have the numbers to back up what they're talking about. What stock do you know that goes up 100%, but then has a forward PE of 10? I can name a stock that provided this type of value. You guys remember when Meta was at $90 and it shot out of there like a cannon and it went back to 300 and it went close to its all-time high? Meta was in a similar situation where it's P to E. Like, Meta is a stock even right now that has been able to go from $90 to $800 and still be considered to be fair. Just think about that. There's not many tickers that can do that, go up 7-8x and still be considered to be a fairly valued company. So put some respect on Meta's name. I know they came down, but hey, dropping down maybe to 691, that 700, early 700 area is still a fair price to pay, because you're looking at a company, Meta, that will be $1,000 one day in the future. So MU, that's our breakdown with that ticker. So make sure you guys have your notes on that. Next thing I got to talk about is SMCI. So I said, man, damn, SMCI is running. I said, what's going on with these boys, man? SMCI, we had some cash. The last position we had on SMCI was some cash secured puts that wouldn't have gotten assigned, because I told people to sell the $35 strikes, right? So obviously it never went to 35. So if you sold those cash secured puts, you really just walked away with the money. You didn't obviously get assigned any shares. Now there's still a plethora of people who are in SMCI, and SMCI can't, just to add these levels on here, SMCI can't go nowhere until it really breaks over $67. So I just want you to put that note on there for yourself. 67. $67 is where SMCI breaks out of the accumulation phase, right? So I want you to put those notes on there. SMCI, $67. You can set an alert as well too, but you may be using up some of your alerts, but that's just one. If you got some free alerts, use that. Set your alert. $67. I'm going to give you the context here, right? So open up your war chest, go to statistics real quick for me on SM Sizzle. So very similar to MU, just obviously PE is a little higher. Instead of 20 and 10, you got 27 and 17. So what I've always told people is the only reason that SMCI dropped the way it did and it would stay so low for so long was because SMCI had a sentiment issue, which we understand when the sentiment is bad around your ticker, that could carry your dollars to go somewhere else. If SMCI can continue to just stay the straight and narrow, this is a stock that once it breaks through $67 could honestly revisit this 47 to $50 billion market cap. So what am I saying to you here? What's the path of SMCI going back to $100? It starts with getting over 67, right? Now, when I look at SM Sizzle, a lot of people asked, okay, what's a fair price? You're not going to get the best price. Probably, I don't want to say ever again, but unless something bad happens, right? The best price was 15 to 25 bucks. You're not getting that again. I'm confident to say that you're probably not getting that anytime soon, right? Anytime soon, you won't get that price. Could SMCI reject that 55, 65 and pull back down in the 40s? For sure. I think if you want this name, like I said before, when I told people to sell the cash secure puts, if you wanted it at 40, get it. You know what I mean? When it was in the 40s, get it. You can get 100 shares of this name. Even now, you can get 100 shares for $5,000. But I would say let's wait on, you want to get your fair price, and this is still a fair price. And so I think it is most important for people to understand you usually want to buy when there's fear in the street. When people are talking too much mess about a ticker, let's just continue to pull up their charts and show their 6 month and 1 month and 6 months and 1 year charts later. Like, we got to really start to dissect these things. Like, you don't want to be a trendy trader. So let me explain that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't trade trends, but I want to say this. You don't want to be a hot potato trader, right? And that's a little bit better. You in this, you in that, you always hopping around somewhere. You're always somewhere new. You trading this, you trading that, and you can't stick to nothing. You don't have no core strategy, no core thesis. You don't have nothing. You just jumping around. You just doing whatever, just trying to squeeze in and squeeze out. Like, that's a recipe for failure in this game. The most money you're going to lose is when you don't know what you're doing. Just like in football, when you out there and you don't know what play's being called and you going half stepping, that's when people get hurt. People don't get hurt a lot of times going full speed. People a lot of times get hurt when they half stepping and they kind of lollygagging, or you didn't do your warm-ups the right way. And it shows. So take care of business here. When the market is closed, this is where I'm going to give some people some shout outs, right? All the people who sit on the recordings, I want to give you guys a shout out today. Because one, this is what I always say, this is not easy. You're juggling your life. Like, your boss may be coming in. It's been people to say, hey, my boss got on me about being on the market, being on a Zoom. Like, I want to speak. I'm speaking very candidly today because I sincerely care, right? There's all of you guys make some level of sacrifice to be on this Zoom. Let's just call it what it is. Some people is driving to work right now. Some people may already be at work, but they sneaking in the bathroom. Some people may be working from home, but they like, you know what? I got 2 laptops, the work laptop and I got the desktop computer. However you got it, you figuring out a way to get this thing done. So I want to give you your flowers here this morning, right? And someone said, gotta be sneaky. For sure. I got, a ton of stories. You know what I'm saying? I quit a job one time when my manager, the time that I told you guys when I was done, I quit a job. She said, what you doing on your phone? I said, I'm in Tesla. She said, what you mean you in Tesla? You got a Tesla? I said, nah, I'm trading it. She said, well, you can't be on your phone on the floor. I said, I got you. I'm just going to close out the position though real quick. She said, nah, give me your phone. I said, nah, I can't let that happen. And she was like, what you mean? I was like, well, shoot, I can't let that happen. There's $800 on the table. respectfully, this shift, I'm only going to probably be making 150. So $800 or $150. Well, $800. So she said, well, if you continue to be on your phone, um, I said, well, it's cool. Today gonna be my last day. Dipped. I was 18 years old at the time. I said, well, shoot, this gonna be my last day. I got some stories. I just don't always tell them. My other job, I quit on Black Friday. You know, manager was saying, Mr. Lawrence, you was a little late, these past couple of times. I said, late. I said, I'm always here on time. Y'all system broken. You know what I'm saying? You got to put your little finger in, check in, all of that. I say your system broken. I said, I'm here early. I'm here early, 7:50. If I'm here, need to be here at 8. I put my finger on it and it's broken. I said, but the manager said she gonna clock me in though. He said, well, man, I'm gonna need you to sign this write-up. I said, write-up? I said, what am I? I'm back in middle school? I said, well, all right, well, you know what? I'm gonna just head out. He said, you leaving today? He said, it's Black Friday, man. I said, yeah, man, I'm done. He said, what? I said, yeah, I'm good, man. That was the moment where I went all in on trading. Like, cause you're not gonna tell me I'm late, or you're not gonna tell me really nothing. Just to be honest, it's 800 dollars on the table. And I did that off my intellect. And then I just looked at it and said, what am I trading this for? You get what I'm saying? When I've seen what I can do. Now I have over a period of time. But I was hungry. And I just do that quick little segue to give you guys your flowers, because that may be something that somebody going through right now. Now, I'm not saying to jump off the hinges and to do something crazy. What I'm saying is that you got to bet on you. You get one opportunity to live this life. And we never know when our time is up. But what we can control is what we do while we had this time. And so I'm telling you, like I said, we're talking tickers, but I want to talk life for a second. You guys are going after it and getting it. Just be patient with yourself. I can't say that more than what I've said that numerous of times. Everyone is going to have their journey. Some people are going to have different starting points, different account balances, different this, different that. But you're right on time. If you're here in this space, this room, you're going to be here. You're in the right spot. I can't stress that, because the energy that you're around is infectious, and the information, when you really take time to dive in and just be patient, sometimes just pump the brakes and say, all right, I don't get this. Let me calm down. What you don't want to happen, though, is you just have all this information with no execution. That's where I think people throw themselves down the rabbit hole. You've been in this class, you've been in that class, you've been over here, you've been on this live, you've been over here, but you ain't executed on nothing. That's the part where people run themselves down the rabbit hole. And yeah, is trading scary? Could you lose money? For sure. But you're not going to learn nothing sitting on the sidelines, right? I heard Deion Sanders when he got asked about Shedeur not playing. Shout out to Shedeur. Hopefully he gets to play soon, right? You guys know I love Shedeur, right? But Deion said, I ain't never learned nothing from watching. This is what he said in an interview. Sitting behind Flacco, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I ain't never learned nothing from just sitting there just watching all the time. You get what I'm saying? And that's someone that we respect and we revere as one of the greatest football players ever. And he's right. Why would Shedeur go to play at Baltimore? He's not getting in for Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson plans probably going to be there another 5-10 years, maybe, hopefully, if he's healthy. So what's the point of what I'm saying is that you can sit on the Zooms all you want. You got to take the trade, guys. You got to get into position. You got to work your system. So yes, you can learn a lot. You can see some things from watching, but nothing beats getting actually in the markets. This is what I tell people, man. You can't be sitting on the bench, just sitting there forever. You got to step into the game, buckle up, and let's go to war. You get what I'm saying? You got to be ready, because that's what this is. This is not no game. This is real life. This is going to take execution, discipline, consistency. So, and you guys are showing that. It's 200 people on here, so we can continue to give you your flowers. Let's move on to the next, not just tickers, but let's talk the next game. Let's talk the next piece of game that I'm gonna give you. And shout out to the XLV. I want everyone to put this down. Now, Healthcare, any second I've been able to speak about healthcare, look at this, guys. This has been since last August in September. So you talk about this a year in the making. The XLV ETF was getting cooked a little bit, not too bad. It wasn't down tremendously, but it did pull back. Obviously, a lot had to do with United Health and their foolishness that they had going on. That was kind of what sparked things, right? Was United Health getting cleaned up pretty bad, did not help the entire industry. Eli Lilly and Company busted through there, was up 8% yesterday. Ticker NVO was up 6%. It's back up here to 59 bucks, right? So we got a lot of the healthcare stocks. Okay, they're floating right now. They are floating. Now I want to give you a bona fide mover, right? When I say that word bona fide. So I want to talk UNH. A lot of people are in the UNHG ETF. Cool. Let's talk about UNH to $400 a share. Let's talk about, you see this XLV ETF? Look at this macro level breakout. Boom. Let's talk about UNH though. Let's talk about where they're getting ready to blow. 355. I'm going to tell you this now. UNH by January will be above 400. UNH by January will be above $400 a share, right? UNH is going to be above $400 a share. Now, I want to explain to you what I'm seeing that tells me that and how we can get there. So with UNH, I'm looking for them to crack through and bust this 366 after 355. Now, UNH is having this divergence that we see here, very similar a little bit to AMD. If we can see AMD blow, that'd be nice. We'll obviously monitor that. But the XLV has the right momentum. Obviously, Eli Lilly and Company, you guys know how I feel about that. Shout out to ticker ELIL. That is the 2x levered version of Eli Lilly, ticker ELIL, right? ELIL. And so 355 would be that break over the September high. Over that, there's not many levels in between. There's a level at 366, 386, and then 400. So because of how fast United Health dropped to the downside, it didn't leave many levels and areas, right? Here back on the upside. So as we bust through 366, there's a high probability that we're going to 400. So if you're looking at United Health, it's still below 350. I'm telling you now, UNH is going to be breaking towards 400. All it takes is the right volume, and I've covered healthcare for the past 3 months. Past 3 months, and really before that, but it's specifically the past 3 months. While everyone before Buffett, right, that announcement came in about Buffett disclosing his position, I was telling you to get ready. I was telling you to get in, throwing you these levered ETFs, telling you to pay attention to UNH. Get in position is what I kept saying. So yeah, was I maybe early on the all the way recovery? For sure, but I'd rather be early than late. So I'm going to tell you that here now. Pay attention to what I'm telling you. Lock in and really, really, really understand that UNH and the entire healthcare sector, the XLV, I want to give a special shout out to Simone Reed. Miss Reed came into the community. Notice I keep talking about these people, and they came into the community 2021 and 2022, etc. So I had the opportunity to meet Simone the first time with a good friend of mine, Christopher Munoz. She was over in Level Up, and she also tapped in with me, but she came over and she said, hey, I'm looking to learn. And I remember us sitting down, breaking bread. That was about maybe 3.5 years ago, sitting down, eating dinner, breaking bread, asking me questions, and she executes. So she's not waiting on me to tell her what to do. She's just going to make what needs to happen. She's going to do it. And that's what you call consistency. Now she's came in and she's dominating. So like you got to, when I said something about being proactive, not reactive, that's proactiveness. She knew and said, maybe some of these other tickers, maybe not within right now my range, but boom, I'm going to hop in XLV, smoke them. Smoked them. So I want to give her her flowers for being proactive, not reactive. That's how you do it. You got to be proactive, not reactive. So I'm going to give her her flowers here on this Zoom. She may or may not be here, but I want you guys to drop some fires in the chat for that sister right there, because that's what execution looks like. That's what looks like. Hey, I'm not waiting. I'm just going to go and grab. That's the mindset that I want you guys to have is, hey, listen, I'm not waiting on none. I'm going to take it. That's the mindset that we all should implore and we all should have. I'm not waiting on none. I'm just going to go and get it. And that's the mindset of someone that's going to be successful in the long run. And it takes time. It takes time. So be patient with yourself. Focus on understanding your systems. Really focus on that. So I'm going to give you your flowers here today, Queen. If she's in the building, she's in the building. If she's not, I'm sure she'll watch this recording and see that. All right. So let's carry this and move this train along. Let's actually get to a couple other things that we want to look at. So actually, you know what? Too many people on. Can't do that right now, actually. Next one, we'll save that. We'll save that one. So that's Sunday. That's Sunday worthy. So now I want to talk about this. I can talk about this ticker with no problem. I want you guys to pull up ticker IBM. So I want you to go to IBM. You might be saying, man, I was talking about IBM. Well, before there was an Apple, there was another old dog, and it's IBM. So I want to talk about IBM because we're about to go test this. We got a pin bar here on the weekly time frame. So we got a pin bar candlestick, hammer candle, pin bar here on the weekly time frame. So IBM is going to report earnings on 10/22. So I thought it was 10/21, 10/22, right? And this is what I really want people to know about IBM is based upon what I've seen. What stock you think runs with IBM real quick? I've actually touched on it already. What stock you think is actually going to run with it, right? What stock do you think runs with IBM, right? IBM. What stock you think runs with it? With IBM. Microsoft. I've seen somebody. Yep. Microsoft. Yep. Microsoft. So if Microsoft, let me pull up MSFT to the side here. We got MicroStrategy up here to 346 this morning. She got a level at 355 and 366 as well. But if MSFT is running, you're going to see as well IBM run. So I got IBM running at least back to the all-time high. I wanted to show you here on a 4-hour real quick. You got a bull flag on IBM. So I'm going to be an IBMer, and I want to see us take this move over this 287 level on IBM. So as IBM breaks, so will Microsoft break. So you got a bull flag here on a 4-hour time frame on this ticker. So I want you guys to pull that name here to the ups, have that name actually written down. Set yourself up here on that IBM ticker. All right, IBM, and you got Microsoft. So Microsoft trying to get above 520. If that can happen, then you got a nice move here on there. Now, QQQ, just to get some notes, the Qs actually had their second close above 600. They're actually at 607, heading towards 607 right now. So the QQQ is running this morning, but there's a ticker that's not. There's a ticker that's not, and I need to discuss them. And that's ticker NFLX. What's happening with Netflix? Well, let me actually bring Netflix over to this side. NFLX. I want you guys, not the NFL, but NFLX. And put watch your cybersecurity. I'm gonna cover. I have that on the to-do list next, right? So I need you to watch your cybersecurity names today, because CrowdStrike and Palo Alto Network, Zscaler, they look like they're going to run. I think if Crowd breaks 505 while I'm covering that, if Crowd breaks through 505, they're going to run over to 515. So put that on your notes. For people that like to trade Crowd, doesn't mean you have to, but I'm just putting that note because we have people that like Crowd. If it gets over 555, you can take it to about 515. All right, so let's cover Netflix real quick. So we got actually I missed this yesterday. We have a weekly bear flag on Netflix. I was so zoomed in, I didn't see the rest of this chart. So this was on me. I was zoomed in. I spent majority of the time zoomed in on the 4 hour and the smaller time frame. So I didn't see the rest. Right. And so when you look here, Kava already came down. So Kava already came down and hit that $58 level and it came out of there. That was a macro level. Right. So that was a macro level. Right. Macro level. Well, so when you look at Netflix, Netflix is here at 1161. 1147 is really right here underneath this level is the break of the bear flag on Netflix. So let me take this off real quick because you can see this pattern clear as day, even without this. Right. And so when I look at Netflix, I don't want to say, I'm not saying anything bad, but I'm just going off of the chart. What could be the fundamental things with Netflix that could pull them down? Right. So that's where I started to really ask. So I see the technicals, that's fine. But what were some of the fundamental things that came across my mind that could cost Netflix maybe a bit of money? So viewership is declining. I'll tell you this with WWE on Netflix. It actually just hit an all-time low. So WWE viewership is declining on Netflix. But to be fair, a lot has to do with the fact that the NFL season is back, which is why WWE strategically tried to move Monday Night Raw to 7 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. Just the thing about it, though, is we do have on Monday Night Football some 7 p.m. Football games, which I think someone needs to talk to the NFL about that. There shouldn't be two Monday Night Football games. So with Netflix, that's one piece, but that's a small piece of what Netflix does. Um, I guess the main thing is just now, of course, you had the Canelo Alvarez and you had the Terrence Bud Crawford fight this quarter. I'm speaking as to what happened this quarter, right? That just closed September 30th. So interested to see what the numbers look like. Now, of course, I know Netflix is having this, whatever little Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis have gotten themselves into little cash grab thing. But I think people look at what Netflix content they've put out, and some people are saying, how long can this last? But also the expense of putting out the content too. So I look at Netflix. I know a lot of people was saying Netflix to 1,400, 1,500 very quick. I don't see that happening. And the thing is, Netflix doesn't really move without a major, like any stock, it doesn't move one without a catalyst. Two, it usually is a big mover around earnings, right? Like usually earnings is what takes like this move right here, the move that we saw here this early in the year, right? Here in April and May, you know what I'm saying? They've definitely got themselves to me, what I would say in a small hole, nothing that makes it bad, but also this is what happens when you sit at an expensive level. So when you dive into the fundamentals on ticker Netflix, not to say that Netflix is overly expensive, but Netflix right now has a 51 P to E. So it's not expensive, but they could be earning more. And one thing with investors that they look at Netflix is they look at their debt, which they have about 16 billion and 8 billion in cash. That's not horrible, but they really do watch their expenses and also their subscriber count numbers. So as always, that's always one thing to focus on. So I want to stress this for you guys here today. Netflix, add these levels back on. If Netflix actually breaks below 1147, we're going to definitely see Netflix, to me, come back down to the early 1100. And if it gets real bad, you could be seeing Netflix pull back down all the way to $1,000 a share again. So just want to put that out there. I want to see, once again, we'll see what happens on earnings. Obviously, that play a major role. But Netflix, from a technical perspective, and maybe some small fundamental things, we'll see what their earnings is like and what they project to really do. All right. So I want to stress that here just to make sure everyone's on one accord and they understand what's actually going on and happening. All right. Before we get to cybersecurity, I want to cover Bitcoin real quick. Excuse me, BTC, USD. So we got Bitcoin that came right off this 110,000. So Bitcoin breaks through 124. It's going to be off to the races again. I'm going to tell you that right now. So BTC, It was trying to get below this 107, maybe revisit this 99. That's as low as we really thought it would go at the time. So it's just a $10,000 move downward. But it doesn't have any momentum there at all to the downside left. So it shoots up. And as you can see, since July, Bitcoin has just really consolidated in the same spot. So 3 months later, we're here at the same level. So not much movement there. While the rest of the market was making new highs, Bitcoin was just staying sideways. So if Bitcoin breaks 124K, you're looking at Bitcoin making more highs. How could Bitcoin do that? Well, because of this jobs data, which I posted the jobs data. This is where, before I get to cybersecurity, we're going to talk about the employment numbers. We had a negative reading on the ADP report. The private sector loss based upon the report was probably more than 32,000 jobs, realistically. But that was a way for them to put a soft blow. So some people might be saying, well, why is the market going up and the jobs data is negative? Now, I want to point this out. I said this, did I not? That if the jobs data was negative, you would see the inverse of what you would think would happen. You would think that the jobs data would be bad, that based upon, if you knew nothing, right? If you knew nothing and you said, okay, jobs data comes out negative, right? But then the market would drop. No, no, no. It goes up. And let me tell you why. Let me talk to you for a second. The reason why that happens is because the Federal Reserve's job is to do what? I have it highlighted here. Promoting maximum employment, also promoting stable prices. So that's their two key goals. Now, when you think about that, it's honestly, if you think about it, it's actually hard to do both of those together, right? And so when you think about looking at promoting stable prices for the goods and services we all produce, right? We all purchase, excuse me. The reason why I say it's hard to do both is because if prices are running, employment is dropping. Just think about that. That's a recipe for a disaster, right? Am I wrong or am I right? If the prices are not stable, but employment starts to slip, and this is what the Fed's two key goals is, are they doing a good job of it? Just asking, want your feedback, right? This is, once again, this is the Federal Reserve. This on their website. It's not what I'm saying. This is what they say. Their job is to promote maximum employment. So this means the highest level of employment or the lowest level of unemployment, which has been creeping up since 2023, by the way. Unemployment levels have been creeping up. A lot of people continue to get laid off, especially in government jobs right now. Government jobs, people are getting sent home left and right. It's not easy out there. Even in regular other sectors, right? A lot of jobs have been getting cut. And then also prices ain't necessarily dropping, right? So just think about that. You don't see rents dropping in cities, $300, $400. You ain't seeing that. You're seeing prices still increase. So this is the problem that's essentially brewing. Now, you might be saying, okay, well, why would Bitcoin be running? Well, Bitcoin, at the same time, when we understand Bitcoin, shout out to the Black Robin Hood. He's the guy, and shout out to Wealth Squad, Chris Johnson. Those are two guys that are on Bitcoin heavy and understand and promote it on their pages and push it, right? As they should. But when you understand that Bitcoin is a deflationary asset, it's not inflationary, it's deflationary. Also, it's a sign of also independence and control, because you can control your keys, right? And you're separate. You can't print more Bitcoin. You can print more dollars though. So you can print more of these dollars, right? You can continue to do that and continue to print more dollars that come out and devalue the currency. You can't devalue Bitcoin. So you can say, you know what? I'm gonna print more of these dollars. I'm gonna print more of these dollars, dollars. So people continue to, you know, that's what the Fed, hey, we'll print. We got Jerome Powell on record, and you guys know I like Powell a little bit. But I think we also got to look at what DT's saying and saying the too late Fed. That a lot of that stuff is true. Too late. Too late or never do. You know what I mean? And the Fed, they make moves off of lagging data, which is the truth. The Federal Reserve makes moves off of lagging data. They say, hey, we got to pay attention to the data, but the data is skewed. And also the data doesn't support Black and brown people. Yes, I said it. Black and brown people employment is surging right now. Just the facts. We can look at the numbers. So you got a lot of those issues that are happening here. And so the data is not supporting that. The data it is not showing transparently, right, to the damage that's being done in Black and brown communities, especially as well, too. So you have Bitcoin, which runs in times of maybe where there's some uncertainty as well. It runs with the overall markets. But when people are feeling less confident in the US, which, okay, think about it, government shut down, and not just the US, because Bitcoin's a world asset, and governments across the world, Bitcoin tends to run during those time periods. So we're here in the beginning of the fourth quarter, the close of the third quarter, and we're seeing Bitcoin run. What does Bitcoin look like if we can get over 124,000? Assets, of course, some of the crypto boy assets, as I call them, they'll probably get a little juice. But Bitcoin is king. Could you see maybe your ETH run? For sure. There's an ETH ETF that I think is way too high for anybody to really hold consistently, but you could trade, short-term trade ETHU. You now have a 2x lever. This is how I'm telling you, man. These companies out here, man, running these 2x levered ETFs. I can't wait to. I'm not going to do it right now. I can't wait to end to run their financials and run everything by the end of the year, because I'm gonna do an end of the year report on these 2x levered and 3x levered things, all of them, and I want to really see how much money they're making off these fees, because I know they're cooking. But look back here in April, $20 to knocking at 200. That's a 10x off an asset that didn't go up 10x. That's an asset. If you look at ETH and we was to compare ETHU to ETH, right? And Zscaler, I ain't forget about you, baby. We coming. So when you take a look at this asset, let's go to the daily. Let's go back to April. ETH was at 1,400, right? So 1,400 peaked out at about 4,800. ETHU was at $20 and went to 200. So 2x levered of Ethereum, right? So 2x levered of Ethereum, ETHU, right? So up, Ethereum's up 200% from April. And that's why I say this stuff not normal. So can it keep running? Yeah. But all bubbles get popped eventually. Will it happen today? More than likely not. Will it happen next week? Probably not. But every bubble has gotten popped before. The little AI, I won't say little, big AI bubble. Not every company going to be successful at AI. I hope we know that. I hope we know that. Now, there will be the mammoths, but notice the trend. Every company, I do AI. I do AI now. Oh, really? You do AI? Yeah, we do AI. Okay. Well, talk to me in 2 years when all of this AI stuff, not to say it's going to blow over, but when the companies that's really doing AI, they don't, they don't say they do AI. The companies that's really doing AI, they don't say we doing AI for real. They don't talk and say we AI. They just say, yo, we're making these investments. Boom, we're going to do this. And they just do it. Notice the ones that talk about AI so much will be the ones that get clapped. And we'll have a clap list. We'll collect that list of how many AI companies that say, hey, and now it's so much, and no knock to Tempest AI when I say this, but be wary of companies, because Tempest AI, I think, actually has something pretty structural over there, but it's going to take some time to build out. But be mindful of companies that start putting AI behind their names. Sounds like .com to me. You guys see how that happened. Diapers.com. That didn't work out too well. All the .com. That happened a lot. It panned out good for some, but not good for everybody. Right? So you can't do one thing and be successful on Wall Street for a long period of time. That's one thing I want you to write down. We got about 20 minutes left. One thing I want you to write down. You can't do one thing and be successful on the street. You can't do one thing. You can't be a one-trick pony. One trick ponies get clapped on Wall Street. You do one thing, you'll be like Snapchat, and Meta take your damn stories and they'll be running it and they'll be making their billions. Meanwhile, your stock will sit sub $20 because you couldn't get out of doing one thing. And that's what happened with Snapchat. They did one thing really well. Meta took it and smoked them. That's what happens. One trick ponies get slaughtered on the street. So ETH, make sure you have this down. Ethereum as well. So like I said, this is not something that you should be buying. You don't go and buy ETH a ton today. But could you trade this instrument? For sure, because ETH, if Ethereum runs, you'll see ETH sometimes up 15 to $20. So if we get a real bullish pattern and we get a print and that bring on Bitcoin and that brings the rest of this ETH up, you got something to utilize here at this time on this name. So that's my thoughts on Ethereum. Make sure you guys have those notes written down at this time. Now let's talk about cybersecurity. We waited long enough. So just for people that like to trade these cybersecurity companies, right? Now, if you're looking at pull up Zscaler. Zscaler, Palo Alto Network, and CrowdStrike all look like they're about to go on a little bit of a run. So CrowdStrike looks like if we can get over this 505, I want you to just put that down. You could take this to 515. And this is for my people that like to trade these names. You don't have to, but I'm just highlighting it for those that do, right? So over that 505, it's going to take a quick move to about 516, 517. So I want you to put that down for yourself. For if you like that name, just want to cover it to provide some context on it. Palo Alto Network is a bit of a slower mover, but I also think that you can see Zscaler as well run over 306. Well, excuse me, 309, right? So 309, and it can get up here to about 318. So everyone should have an alert for 318, but over 309, Zscaler has about a $10 move, right? So a $10 move on Zscaler over that level, right? So you got some things colliding together on cybersecurity stocks. So just wanted to make mention of that. If those are names you like to trade, you can trade them. If those are names that are out of your budget, you don't want to trade them, you don't have to, right? And I picked on the name, so I'm going to talk about it. I'm sorry, Tempest. I didn't mean to do you like that. But since I talked about you, let me give you some insight on Tempest since I talked about Tempest. So I want to talk about Tempest here. And we're actually knocking on the door of trying to get above $91, right? So here we're up to $89 pre-market. The stock was up yesterday. It looks like $7 a share, right? So it came right off this 76. Where is Tempest AI located? Where's Tempest AI? What ETF Tempest AI located in, guys? What Tempest AI located in? What ETF, guys? Who's been paying attention? Thank you. Unique. ARK ETF. Unique. I want you to send me a text message. I'm going to give you a call today. I'm going to give you a call today. Please send me a text message. I'm going to give you a call today. Unique. I love executors. Unique. Please send me a text message. I want to give you a call today. So that's how you know when you're paying attention. And shout out to, I believe that was DeAndre as well as Cleve. This is how you know when people paying attention. I ask them where it belongs to. They know where it is. That's what you should know. What is the one thing I said? You should know where your tickers belong to. Tempest AI right here in front of you. Tesla, Coinbase, Roku, Roblox, CRISPR, Robinhood, Tempest AI. Bingo. So if you know that's the case, you know it's in this bread basket that we call it of stocks, right? So Tempest AI, I just wanted, since I talked about them, over 91 is going to go take a move to 97. Now, there's a lot of overhead resistance at this 91. We could see that from February 14th. Valentine's Day wasn't so nice to Tempest. That was actually when they started to pull back. And you also see as well here in September, they didn't perform well when they got here. So if they can bust through and break through all those sellers at that level, this stock will actually take a nice move to the upside towards $97, right? So I want to stress that since I'm just discussing them, since I kind of ribbed on them a little bit, but let me show you the fundamentals since I did rib on them a little bit. I didn't mean to, but sorry, Tempest. But it's just the facts is the facts. See these blanks here? Too much blanks. And this is not a profitable business, but it has the chance to become profitable. They have a lot of debt compared to their cash. So this would not be a name that I would say is fundamentally sound. Now it is a low floater, which it has 168 million. So you know what DNA is here. And 15% of the shares outstanding are being shorted. So this, I'm not going to say that it's going to happen, but I will say what you saw with OKLO, you get what I'm saying? OKLO can easily, Tempest AI could duplicate what OKLO did because of the way of how it's set up here. So this stock price could really, really, really set up, to really take a move upward as it broke above 91 and $100 because of short covering. So it doesn't mean if you see Tempest AI go to 110 or 120, doesn't mean that it's because of the business. It's because of the short covering, because out of 15%, that means 26 million of these shares are held short. So if Tempest breaks above 100, you got people that's incurring losses. And so they have to go back to the broker. Here's how this transaction works. I'm going to break it down to you, right? They go to the broker and say, yo, let me get them shares. I'm going to short this thing. So if the price comes down, what happens is they can close the short out profitably and make money. But what happens is that if the stock goes up, you start to incur losses and potentially a margin call. You don't want that. What then happens is you have to cover your margin maintenance and you have to buy the stock back at the higher price. So not only is the people who are buying the stock just outright, plus the people who have to cover their losses by purchasing the stock at a higher price. So now that creates what we call a short squeeze. This is how this actually happens. And these names, because of the level of education is at an all-time high when it comes to the market, you got the Wall Street bet boys and the Reddit boys who sit on and say, oh, this stock is on the verge of breaking a level. Let's all go buy this, bust through that level, create short covering. And that's how you see OKLO move 30% in a day. That's manipulation. Now, it's manipulation from some institutions for sure, but it's also regular people who have now really figured out the keys of busting these stocks to the upside. And that's how it's happening. Because now the information, you got these forums and say, yo, let's do this. And they push it and boom, shoots to the upside. So that's the game with Tempest AI that I'll give you. You could see Tempest AI repeat what OKLO did if it busts through $100. People will start to incur losses. Mind you, people have been shorting Tempest AI since 50, 60 bucks, 40 bucks. So these losses is adding up. And that's how you create a short squeeze. That's how it happens. I just explained it to you. So set your alerts. Once again, not saying you do something today, but now you understand and know. Since I'm on short squeezes, let me talk about another one. CELH, please. Celsius. So let's talk about Celsius, because you could see a short squeeze with Celsius as well, too. And I'm only covering this since I'm talking about short squeezes to give an example. Don't jump off the bridge and go, all in on Celsius. So just understand that this is for my education to provide you on how these things work. So don't just go jump in Celsius just because I'm talking about CELH, please. Please take these notes down so you do know how short squeezes do work. Now with Celsius, right? You have 6% of the shares outstanding that are being shorted. Now that number could increase or decrease depending on how people are feeling about the stock. Now there was one point in time where Celsius had 15 to 20% of their shares outstanding actually being shorted. Now they are a low floater. We understand that. Less than 500 million shares outstanding. So Celsius is a low float stock. We got that, right? So now when we take a look here, this is a business that has obviously opportunity to be profitable at a better rate. You can see that by a forward PE of 38. Its trailing is 143. Now you would like Celsius to become more profitable. They're only worth about 14 billion in market cap. So they're not a huge company. They don't have a ton of debt nor a ton of cash. They're almost 1-to-1 in that regard. So this company is not badly fundamentally priced. Now, what I want to stress is here with CELH is they're only at 6% now. But when they were down here at $20, as you can imagine, think about it. Of course, there was more people shorting it here because they shorted it from, really from these highs. Like Celsius was a really profitable short for people who were shorting it because of the move that it made. Now, if you didn't close it down here, and let's say someone started shorting here, they're losing because now they're having to buy the stock back as it breaks through these levels and they're incurring losses. And the broker says, give me that money back. Come buy this stock. You got to purchase this stock at a higher price. And that's what you call short covering. When we say covering, they have to cover their losses. So that's that. Any questions from anybody? Questions. Short covering questions. Short covering questions. Miss Thomas, okay, I look forward to hearing from you. Any questions? Questions on short covering? Questions on short covering? All right. So we did get the jobless claims numbers. We do have, just as a couple of notes for everyone to pay attention to here. We're here at 8:47. So we do have the unemployment rate, which comes out tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. EST. So 8:30 a.m. EST, unemployment rate is going to go ahead and come out. So be prepared for that. We had a Dallas Fed speaking at 10:30, so no economic reports for the rest of today. Earnings season to get us kick-started. When we look, we'll talk Tesla, grand finale. I gotta get up out of here. So Tesla right now is above 460. So what I said yesterday was pretty crystal clear. There's nothing really stopping Tesla now from getting over to this 484, 488 and going to 500. There's nothing stopping it. Nothing stopping Tesla outside of Elon Musk. Now let's talk about him for a second. Notice we ain't heard nothing really from Elon. I'm sure he's still tweeting because I think I still get some tweets. But when you look at Elon, he ain't underneath DT thumb no more. He went back to work. And when he went back to work, his stock showed you as well. So if Elon can keep his mouth shut, Tesla should be at 600. Just with him keeping his mouth shut alone. Obviously, we know Elon. How long can he do it? Who knows? But Elon looks to be focused more than what he was at the beginning of the year, here towards the end. Now, let's not toot the horn and jump the gun too much because we all know how he can get. And I could be saying this right now, then tomorrow, I don't want to speak too much because then tomorrow he'll do something off the hinges. But when it comes to Tesla, you talk about forward price businesses, you look no further than this as being one of the most forward price businesses outside of Palantir, even though its P to E isn't as high as Palantir. But this business is all forward price. It's a ton of money in here with people who are just Elon fanboys and people saying, hey, Elon's going to take us up. And so, hey, he's at 5. What's the path of Elon taking Tesla from 500 to 1,000? Because think about the benefit in that now. I think Elon understands that. Elon wants to be the first trillionaire, right, on paper. There's obviously trillionaires that we don't know their names, I'm sure, right? But Elon wants to be the first on paper recorded trillionaire. All he got to do is take this stock to 1,000 and bingo, it's done. So I anticipate that Elon may be on his best behavior, at least up until that point. So when that happens, I'm not saying that happens, but I'm just giving you guys, this Elon's calculated in his approach. As we know, you don't get to becoming worth half $1 trillion. He ain't no idiot. Let's just call it what it is. You may not like him, but Elon Musk is no dummy. And so he's worth $500 billion. And when you take a look at this, there's motivation because now the clock is ticking. You got to double Tesla, bro, to get yourself to $1 trillion. And it's performance-based incentives. So what I'll say is that if Tesla can actually run and get over those levels. You're going to be looking at Tesla shooting to the upside. We'll see here. So Tesla to 1,000 campaign officially is going to start beginning once we cross 500. So that's my thoughts on that. Not saying it happens anytime soon, but I'm just telling y'all what you can see that. You see a little bit more of a focused Elon. And a focused Elon Musk is a dangerous Elon, I'll tell you that. Focused Elon, I don't think anybody wants to see him. Real talk. So that's my thoughts as far as everything today. Any updates further will be in the chat. I just popped this up. Like I told you, I would give you what I had. Make sure you guys are ready and available. Be on time for Sunday. This is the last time you'll hear from me outside of the employment report tomorrow. But be on time for Sunday. Members only. I cannot stress this. So no one, if you're not a member, you're not getting in on Sunday, October 5th. Listen, I'm throwing things off the backboard. Members only on that 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. On Monday, October 6th, that's completely free for everyone. 5-hour full day of training. After that, we'll be on break from that day until I return on this 15th or 16th, that Wednesday, whatever Wednesday, the following Wednesday is, right? So I'm telling you here now, you need to be in that class and get yourself locked in on Sunday. You need to do so. Also, it will be recorded, right? So it will be recorded. The questions about the recording, of course, is going to be recorded, guys. You think I will host a 3-hour masterclass and I wouldn't record it for my people? Come on now. You know me better than that. Come on now. So yes, it will be recorded as well. So if you can't make it, we understand. We're going to make sure you good though. So I appreciate everybody for being on here this morning. Hopefully you got to work safely. If you're driving, I've seen a couple people in the car. That's what execution is like. You propped up your phone. I want to say it was Damien. He was driving. The sun was in his eyes and he had his phone propped up and his camera was turned on. So I'm going to give Damien his flowers because he came on his Zoom and he obviously didn't take no notes, but he definitely came and listened to this game on his drive to his destination. So I want to give some flowers to you guys for your consistency and showing up. And let's just continue to work. It's fourth quarter, games like 87-81, right? So we're up about 6 points. But don't let the 7-minute mark come. And the 6-minute mark is going to be right there around November 1st or November 15th. Don't let us get to the first 2 weeks of November and we down 5 or 7. We got the lead. Let's keep it that way. Let's finish this fourth quarter strong. Stay focused, stay locked in, and let's press forward. 2026 is right around the corner, but it's about what you put into this. And for 200 plus people to say, you know what, I tapped in this morning, that's what it's about. And so take your time, relax, rest, and I'll see you guys on Sunday, 7 p.m. And the room is going to get locked up because I want to make sure once I start, I will say this, I'm going to give everybody a grace period of 15 minutes, but I want to make sure that I'm going to say this and I'm going to announce this because, sometimes people try to throw some alley-oops to some outsiders and they think I don't catch it. Trust me, L is seeing everything. So I want to make sure that Zoom is locked and it's going to be locked. The room will be locked. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to lock the doors on the room after 15 minutes. So I'm going to give everybody 15, maybe 20 minutes to get in. And then if you're not in, you're going to have to catch the recording. And the recording is going to have a passcode and I'm going to always change the passcode. That's how serious I am about this Zoom. I've never done that. So you guys can understand, I'm not letting nothing get on the outside. And there's names that are cooking, and you guys know what you should substitute for the word cooking that we don't discuss publicly. So shout out to y'all for those that are in the ticker that cooks. So I appreciate that. And, y'all have a blessed one. We'll talk soon.